Okay, this video is about rendering out of After Effects. This is a little bit slanted towards my 3D students because it's also about bringing in an image sequence into After Effects and rendering that out. So the first step would be to bring in the file or files. In this case, we're bringing in an image sequence, so you can go File, Import, File, or just Command I. And here I've selected a series of images that we've rendered out of Maya. In this case, it's a Photoshop sequence. Now, if these files were, you can see up here it says PSD. If they were TIFFs or JPEGs, this would say TIFF or JPEG sequence. And I think that this is checked by default, but always double check to make sure it's a sequence. So click on Open. Now you're getting this dialog box here because it is a sequence, and it gives you the option of bringing things in as footage in order to use to make a composition, or to go ahead and create a composition out of the footage itself. And for our purposes, for the purposes of my 3D class, go ahead and bring it in as a composition. Just click on OK. And the composition is what gets rendered out. So this saves you the step of creating a composition, which is like really 2 steps anyway. So I would double click on the composition, drag the time slider to make sure it is animating, in fact. Okay, great, super duper. Now, when you render this out, the composition settings will determine what the background color is. This is because there is an alpha channel embedded in this file. That means that the background is transparent for the image sequence, and here's the sequence right there. So we can change this by doing Command K or composition, got to select the composition settings, okay, and it's not really giving us the background color. Well, let's make a new layer. Here we go. Got to select the layers panel. Layer, new, solid, and let's make that white. And OK, and put that behind by dragging below. You see that dark line changing there. Okay, so now we have a white background. So you can render this out as an animation with an alpha channel, or you can render it out with any kind of background that you like, just by making a new layer, a new solid layer, and giving it a certain color. Now, if you don't like this layer color, you can certainly change that. Oops, there we go. But let's just stick with this for now. So now we want to render this out. You want to send this to the render queue. So do a Command M. On a PC it'd probably be Control M, Command M. And it will jump right to the render queue and put the render queue in the same location as the layer and timeline window. So okay, so there's your composition, and there's your render queue, and it is there. Cylinder 1 is the name of the composition, and it is down there in the render queue. Now I want you to modify some of these settings. I don't want a great big file. I want something you can email to me, please. So we got to go into the settings for this animation. We're going to export and add some compression to it. So click on Output Module. Click on this word lossless right here. On a PC, on a Mac, it will default to QuickTime Movie. On a PC, the format will default to AVI, and what I want is a QuickTime Movie. So make sure you choose QuickTime Movie. Now we've got to go into the format options, which is really compression settings. And when you compress something, you're deciding on trading off quality for size, no matter what, whether it's a JPEG or, in this case, an H.264, which is what I'm asking my students to choose. It is pretty much the best compression algorithm out there. It gives you the best quality with the most compression. Anywhere between medium and high is just fine. Don't change anything else in here. This is just fine. H.264 with a quality between medium and high, and click on OK. And just click through that. Now you probably won't have any sound. For my After Effects students, you probably will have sound, and then you'll have to click on this audio output, and I prefer IMA for one, and stereo if you have stereo, but in this case we don't have sound. But if you do, you have to manually click on this or it won't be selected. So for my 3D students, no sound, click on OK. This next button over here is to choose the location, output to. It should just say location, but it doesn't. So click on Cylinder 1 Move and choose a location. We'll just send this right to the desktop and say OK. Alrighty? And that's it. All you have to do now is click on the render button. This will go very quickly for my animation students because there are no special effects or time stretching or any number of things that After Effects can do for you. We're just trying to get an image sequence turned into a movie. So just click on the render button. You see this progress bar right here. It's going to go relatively quickly. Ta-da! Alright. If we look on the desktop, Command-Shift-D, okay, and view by date modified, there it is right at the top, very helpful. And double click on that, and wow, what a big format. I guess we rendered this out pretty large. Okay, and there it goes, bouncing from left to right. Here, I'll shrink that down. There we go. Boing. Okay, very good. You know, if you have rendered out something and you're not sure the size, you'd like to make it a standard size, again, that is just in the composition settings. So composition, again, I've selected the composition here on the left in the project window, and you pull down composition to composition settings, and you see it is a very, very large composition. So I could go to just your standard 720 by 40 and click on OK, but then I would have to back out a bit, select this layer, and then shrink it with the Shift key. If you don't use the Shift key, you get this. You definitely want to constrain the proportions there. So there we go. Now it's a nice normal size. I'll go to Fit here and see it. Now that would make a much smaller and more reasonably sized render. And that's pretty much it. Then you have the file and you can send it to me and get an awesome grade. Thanks.